So good morning, everybody. This week I decided to do something slightly different than my usual, and I went back to use ZBrush, which I haven't practiced in a while. And moreover, I wanted to practice some tech design, some mechanical element and some robot, which is, again, a theme I haven't dig very deep into it in my experience. So I thought it was a good exercise. Now, when I was working on this robot, on this mecha, I bumped into one of Bobby Chiu's videos, and I found it quite related to this topic, because this was a video speaking about being very specialized in art, or being some kind of jack of all trades, like some kind of person that can do a bit of everything, a bit of different disciplines. So maybe someone that can handle a humoristic, a cartoony style and a realistic style, or that can either work on 2D, on digital painting, as well as on 3D, ZBrush, Maya, or whatsoever. And I found this topic was somewhat related to what I was doing this week. So I decided to actually expand a little bit on what Bobby Chiu said in his video and had what is my experience about this specific topic. I've been a concept artist for many years. I work for clients like Disney, Gameloft, countless animation studio, and so on and so forth. You can read more about my experience in my website at emiliograsso.com. But without further ado, so the most common question for a beginner is, should I be very specialized in one particular area of drawing or making arts, or should I learn a bit of everything because that will make easier for me to find a job in the industry? Well, the answer is hard to say. It's really hard to say, considering that this question technically means nothing. What I mean is, companies obviously, clearly will always want to see very specialized stuff. They will always prefer to see portfolios that are very closely related to what that specific company is doing. That's the wish of every company. But in practical reality, if we were to produce a portfolio for every kind of company production that has a specific art style or a specific direction, it means we will have to spend our whole life just building portfolios for different companies rather than actually working. Now, in my experience, what happened is that every time I ask to an art director or to an hiring manager of a specific company or to the head of design in some specific company, they always told me, well, it would be preferable to see portfolio that are closely related to what we are doing. But every job I had in my career, it was somewhat in a different area of expertise. So it's like to say I was hired for something very specific, but in every company I worked for, it was always different. So in a strange way, being a jack of all trades was necessary to my career, although the specific company hired you only for that fragment, that portion of portfolio they are interested into. There are also cases in which I have been hired for a very specific art style in my portfolio, and as soon as I step in the company, the whole art style of a project shift, and not slightly, like shift from cartoony to realistic sometimes. And in that case, if you are a jack of all trades, you still keep your job. Otherwise, well, I guess you will have to update your resume and find a new one. Another weird thing happening sometime, not in all companies, but speaking with different people in the same company, they gave me different feedback about what they would like to see. Some of them would have preferred to see very specific portfolio. Some of them will have preferred to see a more variety of works in a portfolio. So different people in the same company appreciate different things. And that's a real conundrum. That's not a detail, considering that you'll never know who is going to be the one that check your portfolio once it's submitted to that specific company. So we really don't know if the kind of portfolio that we put together, it's appealing that specific person. Now, clearly, this is insanity because we can't read the mind of 1,000 people, the way they are thinking, and tailor a portfolio that is person-specific. That's madness. And I really hope at some point companies will also start understanding this. But there is something we can do. And something we can do is, clearly, the more variety of art style and technique you can cover, the better it is for you. The question is, are you truly covering this art style and this technique in an efficient way? It's like, are you doing good work? The question is, rather than putting some average cartoony style in your realistic portfolio or some average realistic style in your cartoony portfolio, are you truly covering that area of expertise in a way that it looks good? What I mean is, the problem is not in being a jack of all trade or a very hyper specialized artist. The problem is, if you are being a jack of all trade, are you doing it properly? Do your work look professional in spanning across different art styles or not? Because in this case, you are being counterproductive to yourself. It's like saying, should I make one very good cake or 10 different average dishes? Well, if you can do 10 great dishes, that's amazing. You can open a restaurant. But if you can only make one good, delicious cake, well, then focus on that first. So my point, based on my experience, is at the beginning of your career, because clearly we don't have the time and the expertise to cover all the possible art style and all the possible techniques, you may want to choose something to specialize into. Being this character design, creature design, environment, tech, 3D, 2D, whatever you choose. But you want to have something in which you are really, really strong into. And then as you evolve your career, you may want to try to widen that range of knowledge as soon as possible, because that's what's going to get you more job, or eventually that's what's going to show in your company that you have more competency than just a simple 3D artist or a simple 2D artist or a simple environment artist. The other point is, and that's a weird path, that at some point, after having widened your knowledges, after having the tool to move across different art styles and different techniques, and after having become somewhat a recognized artist, then you may want to specialize back into somewhat a specific niche, because that's what's going to create your audience. So it's a weird path, because you start specialized, and then you widen your knowledges, and then you specialize back again into something. Some artists, some lucky artists I would say, they may jump the intermediate step. They can start specializing in something. They can find a lot of work in that specialized field, and then can become a very well-known artist in that specialized field and never span into any other similar or related field. But I will say that's probably not the majority of artists. And I guess as a young artist, all that you want to do is trying to maximize your chances of landing a decent job in an healthy environment office where you can grow your skill. And probably the thing that can maximize the most your chances of finding job is clearly having a quality jack of all trade portfolio, a quality one. So I think the key is not in should I have a specialized, hyper-qualified portfolio or a jack-of-all-trade kind of portfolio. The question is a quality portfolio. Because if it's a quality portfolio, it doesn't matter if it's a super specialized or not. There is going to be market for that. Clearly, if you can do a lot of things and you can do those better than one simple thing, that's even better. So ask yourself, is there really quality across the different art style you're trying to put in your portfolio or not? Because if there is not, do one step per time. That's just my personal experience. I think there is a lot of confusion on the topic because I heard many people saying that you should have a very specialized portfolio and that's actually better than being a jack of all trades. And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think it's actually the opposite. But I think it is necessary to begin with a specialized portfolio, especially when you are a student or a young artist trying to break in the industry. So I hope knowing about my experience can be of any use for you. And if you enjoyed this video, thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much and enjoy your week.